Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Startup Business Summit. I'm here with Michael Gilbert. My name's Josh Thomas. I'm your host. And today we're going to talk about my favorite topic, moving the needle in your business, bringing in cash. One of the things that we're focused on in this summit is making sure that you secure all the capital that you need and that you do everything that you need to do so that your business becomes investable. But the point of the matter is the sad truth is that 0.6% of all businesses out there ever get any kind of actual funding. It's a very, very low amount. And so you can get some strategic advantages there, like working with people like Michael and making some changes and some strategies. But if that doesn't work for you, if you don't want to rely on that kind of strike of lightning to get the funding that you need, you're going to have to go out there and sell stuff. And that's one of the things that I like to focus on. And, Michael, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. You've worked with hundreds, maybe thousands of businesses. A lot of them either aren't investable or they would be better off just going out and selling their product to make them more investable anyway. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say, out of the few thousand people we've helped raise capital, and not saying all of those came to fruition, but um, if you go back and watch a number of Shark Tank videos, right? And I tell people this: go listen, and write down the number one question that all investors ask: Are you selling anything? Who's buying this product at the price that you have set forth in the market? And so, sales cures all.
Sales cures all. And that's one of the things I think we put the cart before the horse sometimes. We have a great idea and we want somebody else to take a risk on our idea. But we haven't taken a risk on our own idea.
That's
So
right.
why would you put your money up if I haven't put my sweat up yet?
Yeah.
And so we have to go out there and bring in the money. And a lot of times, and you tell me about this, but a lot of times, if we go out there and we make the effort and we bring in the sales, sometimes you don't even need the funding at all.
I would say 99.749 percent of the time, you do not need an investor. You just need to go sell what you have. And not every company is at that juncture, right? A lot of software companies have built an MVP, and maybe they need some boots on the ground to do that. But go show me two people want this. Go show me one person wants this, or go show me that there's a need in the market for that product or service.
And that's one of the things that we want to focus on today is
Right.
finding simple ways that you can bring cash in the door by any means necessary, as long as it's legal. And and legal is the limit. There are kind of questionable areas here, but if you need money, man, you need money. If you got to put food on the table, put
Yep.
food on the table. As long as you're not breaking the law, you're probably okay.
You're okay.
And so, what I have found in my experience in working with small businesses, I've been with for the last 15 years. I've worked with small businesses, entrepreneurs, people that are kind of in that weird gooey phase where they're not necessarily pre-revenue, but they're not knocking it out of the park either. So you
Right.
got a couple of sales in the door, and we're always trying to solve the like problem number six. We're always trying to figure out like, okay, well, I'm going to get to my $10 million cap and then I'm going to hire my COOs and I've already got candidates for that, but you haven't made enough money to pay yourself a salary yet. And so
Right.
we got to start there. And so my whole philosophy is don't solve problem number six, solve problem number one.
Yep.
Problem number one, until you hit about 2 million, 3 million, sometimes up to 5 million, your problem is I got to get cash and sales in the door as fast as possible. And if you're solving any other problem, stop and go and solve the cash problem. Because I promise you, healthy sales and cash flow will solve all of the rest of the problems that you think you're
It,
facing right
it's funny you bring that up. We had two young gentlemen come into when I ran an incubator accelerator here in Dallas called the Garage. We had two gentlemen approach us. They had built a competitor to Steam, which is a gaming platform. And we sat with them, and it was a brilliant idea. And we loved it. And we said, well, what do you need $250,000 for? They said, well, we need to hire VP of sales. And they never could grasp you are the VP of sales, because the next sentence out of their mouth, no, I'm the CEO, or I'm the COO, or I'm the, what was it? I'm the CTO. We need someone that knows how to do sales. I said, who better to do sales than you? And I don't know if they ever raised the capital. I haven't heard of the brand since, so I don't think they were successful, but go sell it.
Yeah.
It's built. You guys built this. This is great. And it was built. All they had to do was go sell it.
Oh, wow. And it was already done. Gosh, there's on the path of entrepreneurship, there is laid to waste thousands and thousands of great ideas and technology. Just imagine, like, if you're watching a movie like those dystopian future movies where they've got like all the old computers and stuff strewn about, like that's the world we live in, man. It's just
It
like,
really
wow,
is.
this was great at one point, but nobody ever took care of it. Well.
That's right. So, the question, that falls out the bottom of the funnel for all of us, and something you could answer is, what is the number way to achieve momentum if you're stuck, right? Because these so often we're too close to the problem, we can't see outside the problem. So how would you address
Yes.
that?
Yeah, so well, you actually hit on the first part of it. So I like to work with frameworks. Frameworks, it's kind of like it's a misused word sometimes, but the new crypto AI bot that will chat on your website and close sales for you, that's a tactic.
Right.
Okay. Um, the consultative selling process of bringing in somebody and discovering their pain points and offering a solution to those specific pain points, consultative selling process, that's a strategy. But a framework is bigger than that and it's simpler than that. Think about the studs that hold up your house. That's your framework. Okay. We're not talking about tactics. We're not talking about strategies, because tactics will get real hairy real fast and distract us. Strategies can be a little constricting sometimes and we can't see the bigger picture. But a framework is universal. It always worked before. It currently works now. It will always work in the future. It's timeless. Okay. And so as long as we're thinking about the right framework and we're exercising within the right framework, we're going to be okay.
So give me an example of what a framework might be.
Yeah, you got it. So I'll give you a couple of them. So you started with one of them. I have one called Triple In. Okay, and it's one of the first processes that I take clients through when I take them on. It is first and foremost, we need a new perspective. And so you were already alluding to this. We're holding up a wall, and that wall is our business, by the way. We're holding this wall up and our nose is up against it. We're so close that we can't see how long the wall is, how tall the wall is. We don't even know what color it is because our nose is up against it. We can't see anything. And if we step back away from the wall, crashes because we're holding it up. And so what we need is we need somebody to step back a few steps, maybe get a higher vantage point and look at it and say, oh, hey, I think we can just go like 3 steps to the right and you'll be okay. It's one of those things that, like, if you had the right vantage point, you would know that. It's not like you're dumb. But sometimes you just can't see stuff when your nose is up against it.
That's
so you
right.
need that new perspective. That's N number 1. Once you have a new perspective, now we need to focus. And if we're going to focus, we need a North Star. And a North Star is your guiding light. It says, this is the way we're going, not this way. We're only going over here. And what it does is it allows you to make every single decision in your business binary. Yes, no, zeros and ones, right? So what I mean by that is, if you know your North Star, or your destination is another way to put it, this is where I'm going, then the next time you're presented with a distraction or a strategy or a tactic or some other thing that you could be doing, you only have to ask yourself one question. Does this thing help me achieve my North Star, whatever it may be? And a North Star could be, just as an example, we want to open a new market in Dallas this year. We want to hit $1 million in revenue this year. We want to launch our product by spring. Your North Star could be anything. It's just as long as everybody's pointing in the same direction and we're all aiming towards the same objective. And when you ask yourself that question, you're presented with an opportunity. Does this align with my North Star? If the answer is no, course correct.
Right.
If the answer is yes, put it in the plan.
We used to ask teams when we would go in and consult, and still do. On the count of three, everybody stand up. Everybody stands up. All right. On the count of three, close your eyes and point north. And you would have people, because they're in a building that they don't know, or their directions are off, and even mine are off. You go into a building, you're north. You don't know where north is inside a building. And so I would always carry a compass. And open your eyes. All these people are pointing in different directions. Well, as per this compass, that's north. So I want everybody to point north. Okay, that's north. We all know where north is now, and that's where we're headed. And so it was always a great exercise of getting people, because you have to get focus.
Yeah, and sometimes you need somebody else to show you where north is so you can get focused.
Yep.
And so if you have your new perspective, which is essential, I mean, it is non-negotiable. You can't stand in the building and know where north is by yourself. You need that new perspective. And then you know where north is, you know that North Star. What you need at this point is you need a needle mover, something that's going to move the needle in your business. And the needle mover does not have to be complicated. Again, the biggest reason that almost every business fails is because we overcomplicate. It does not have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be sophisticated. It doesn't have to be some back alley sales voodoo or anything. It just has to move the needle, at whatever cost, as long as it's legal. And as long as you find that, once you find your needle mover that's going to get you towards that North Star, then you're in good shape. The triple N method is a framework for getting you out of that rut. You're in that rut for a reason. Trust the fact that you don't have the best vantage point. Get somebody else to show you. Once they show you, work together to develop a destination. This is how we're getting out of this rut. And then from there, we need to go and gather all of the tools and start executing so that we can get out of that rut. And those are our needle movers. That's what's going to move the needle and get us where we need to go. Now, if you take that back to ancient Roman times, that would apply. If you looked in the 1950s, this would apply. If you go 100 years from now, this will apply. It won't matter what AI crypto chatbots are functional now in 100 years, but this triple N method will still get you out of a jam 100 years from now. And so that's why I like to talk about frameworks, because if you're applying that framework, you're going to get yourself out of the jam. If you're not out of the jam, you're probably overcomplicating it.
Interesting. Something that brings, kind of stimulates my mind is, once you get in that and you've put that framework together, right? You're working with someone that can help you do that. You still have a lot of work to do as a business owner. So one of the things I've been guilty of it myself is procrastination. And why do we do this? And then how do we fix that? What are your thoughts on why we get stuck in the rut of procrastination?
Well, procrastination, I've heard it called a lot of different things, a form of depression, a mental illness, and all kinds of other things. But procrastination at its core is related to your body's survival mechanism. Your brain is designed for survival. It is designed to keep you safe and fat and away from threats.
Right.
That's why French fries are freaking delicious, because they're high carb and they're high fat. And, protein, protein's okay, but protein makes our muscles grow and that expends energy. And our brain doesn't like that. Like, our brain is our biggest enemy. As long as we understand that, then we can make some progress. But procrastination specifically, if you think about it, all right, I know I need to get out of the cave. Go back to caveman days, right? Our brain has not had a firmware update for 200,000 years. We are still cavemen. We have more developed frontal cortexes slightly, but we're still cavemen. And so we're living in the cave, and there's saber-toothed tigers roaming around that could maul us and eat us at any moment. And food is scarce. Like, it's not like we have guns or grocery stores. We have to go with our clubs and just like beat squirrels to death so we can eat them raw. You know,
Every day.
like that's our existence. All right. And your brain still thinks that's the case. And so what it's doing is it's looking for ways to protect you from famine, and to protect you from harm, and to protect you from death. The way it does that is it shoots out all these hormones that I won't go into right now, but they are dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins, and cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Without going to super specifics on that, procrastination is your brain's way of saying, well, wait a minute, it might not be safe to go out of the cave right now. What if there's a tiger? And so then you listen and you're like, yeah, there might be a tiger, man. I don't know. And we disconnect, and we're like, oh, yeah. I'll do that later, because what I'm doing is I'm getting chemically rewarded by my brain for staying in a comfort zone. I know what's around me right now. And when you know things aren't a threat, that's comfort. I don't know what's outside of the cave. That sounds like a threat. I'm going to stay in here, and I'm not going to move too much. And I've stored up all of my food in case of famine. So I'm going to stay in here because it's safer. We procrastinate because, chemically speaking, our brain is telling us, yes, good. That's a safe move. We're going to stay alive this way.
Right.
Even though the chances of you dying by taking a risk in your business is almost zero, like almost zero. But your chances of a fatal event because you took a risk are extremely low, but your brain doesn't know that. And so how do you fix it? The first step of that, Michael, is acknowledgement of that's how we're wired. We have to start there.
How we're wired.
How we're wired. That's how we're wired. If we can beat it, the only way to beat it is to accept, like, hey, this is how it is. Now I have to rewire myself to say, you know what? When I take risks, I may fail, but that failure is going to lead to data, which is going to lead to me improving my process, and it's going to lead to advancement. And I have to rewire my brain to say that success is not a threat, because right now it believes that it is. If I'm standing on top, go stay in the caveman, right? We're cavemen still. If I'm standing on top of a rock over all these other cavemen and I'm beating my chest, there's a good chance somebody's going to throw a stone at me and knock me off and kill me. That sounds like a risk. I better stay in the cave, right? So that's all it is. We're not wired to put ourselves in that exposed position, so we procrastinate. Not sure. It's safer to wait. Let's see what happens.
It's great insight.
Stole it from Adam Lyons, who stole it from Loretta Browning. So yeah, I can't take full credit for that, but it's one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. And you may think it has nothing to do with business or anything like that, but it has everything to do with business, because it's how you operate, and it's how your customers operate too.
Yeah. So, as you kind of walk through this framework, and then you start setting goals according to the framework, and people use all kinds of terms for goal setting. What do people get right, and what do they get wrong?
I just had a conversation with a gentleman the other day who told me, I asked him what his goals were, and he said, well, I'd like to have $100 million net worth. All right. How much money is the most money you've ever made in a single year? And he said, about 300,000 when I was in the oil field. Like, all right. That's like, I don't know, like the janitor makes $300,000 in the oil field, right? Like
Right.
that's,
Yeah.
were you like the coffee boy?
Right.
um, and that right there highlights the number one issue that somebody has with setting goals. There's I like to use the SMART framework. Remember, framework, timeless. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. And there's one very, very poorly missed part of this. Obviously, the goal needs to be measurable. Most people don't measure their goals. Like,
Right.
I'm going to go to the gym more. What does that mean? How will I know that you went to the gym more? What is more? Define it. Right? That's math, right? But take the math out of it. The A in SMART means achievable. And most people miss that. The guy went on to say, well, I was always taught go for stupid and you'll land on good. And I'm like, yeah, that does sound pretty stupid. Because it was like, because he gave me I said, okay, great. You want a $100 million net worth or whatever. What's your goal for the next 12 months? And it was some other ridiculous goal. It was less than $100 million at least. And I'm like, okay, cool. But you're setting yourself up for disaster, right? Because if I have never made more than $300,000 in a year, and I'm setting a goal to make $5 million in the next 12 months, I'm probably going to fail.
Yeah.
And the number one reason I'm going to fail is because I don't have any idea how I'm going to achieve that number. I'm just throwing it out there. And so what I need to do instead is I need to select a goal that is challenging but achievable. It's challenging but achievable, because if I can set a goal that I know I can achieve, then I can build a plan. I can reverse engineer a plan to actually execute that goal and cross the finish line. We don't want to set ourselves up for something that we can't achieve. First of all, remember, our brain is run by chemicals that are dependent on survival. And so if we're constantly feeding data into our brain that this is not working, you failed, it's going to shoot more chemicals into you and say, just give up, go back to the cave. What you should do instead, what I would recommend that you do instead, is sandbag that mofo. Like, stack wins. I've done $300,000 this year. I'd love to do 4 next year. And set a plan, because you know how to make 3. Set a plan for how you're going to make 4. And then when you cross 4, 3 months into the year, dude, celebrate. Get that dopamine hit. And then set another goal. There's no rule against, like, if I set a goal, I want to do $500,000 in the next 12 months. There's no rule saying I have to take 12 months to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build a plan to make $500,000 in the next 12 months. And if I annihilate it by June, I'm setting another goal. Look, I hit my goal. I'm going to celebrate. Champagne, cool, woo. Now it's time to set another goal and let's go. But the reason that's important is because it allows you to build an actual plan that you can follow step by step, one step at a time, until you get there. Anything that you can make methodical and predictable and repeatable, you can achieve.
It's
That's what I
interesting.
have to say.
I'm a big believer in manifestation, but I don't believe in manifestation without execution. So I laugh when you see these memes of I'm manifesting $1 billion, and most people, they have never made more than $100,000 a year. And I'm just like, I get what they're trying to say is that there's abundance in the universe and you can attract to yourself whatever you want, right? But there still has to be an executable, right?
Indeed.
So I just kind of laugh at that stuff, and I'm like, somebody's missing quite a few key components on that. What's
Well, here's I just want to add one more thing to that, and
yeah.
I think this is important, because here's the reason that we do it. Here's the reason that happens. Because almost every single time that somebody throws out some ridiculous number like that, they have never succeeded in anything in their life. And I started paying attention to that. And I'm like, why do those two things coincide? And I started thinking about it. And I don't know if this is true or not, but this is my assessment, and this is my therapy session. Okay, I can say what I want, and so I don't know if this is true or not, but my hypothesis is that if I say I want $100 million net worth, when I don't hit that every single time, what I'm basically saying is, if anybody comes up and criticizes me and like, come on, man, it's $100 million. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, how can you blame me, man? That's a big goal. I got big goals. And it's like, it's almost like absolving you of all responsibility when you don't hit the goal, because it's unattainable.
Right.
You won't hit $100 million net worth. You won't
Ever.
ever. And then it's like you're just constantly like dusting your hands off, like, nah, well, yeah, I mean, dude, it's a big goal, and you're keeping yourself in that safe zone. All you're doing is you're putting yourself right back in the cave and you're staying safe. That's my hypothesis, and I don't know if that's true. But the one thing I will say is, guaranteed, when you call somebody out on that, they're going to say Rome wasn't built in a day. To which you can answer, you're right. It was built every day for thousands of days. And then you drop the mic and you walk away.
Well, so what is the secret to success that business owners get wrong, and how do they course correct?
The secret to success is not going to be sexy. And so if you
Nothing,
tuned in,
nothing ever is in business. Everybody thinks business is sexy, and it's the unsexy things, in my opinion, that no one hears about or want to do.
if you tuned in for this bullet point, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but maybe you need to hear it. I actually asked, I'm writing a book on copywriting. And multiple people who were professional copywriters basically said the same thing. Go and copy this classic Gary Halbert or John Carlton or whoever. Go and copy word for word this specific sales letter 10 times in a month. Another one said, go and work for an agency and get in there and write as much copy as you can, because they're not going to wait for you to get it just right, because their clients are waiting for you to get done. And there were several other variations of that. And I've heard versions of that in different industries and different things. Like, what's the secret to success? The secret to success is repetition and 80%. Like, you don't have time to get it right, because you got to do it again. Do it again, do it again, do it again. Don't worry about it being right.
Yeah, what I
Because
say in our network group, done's better than good.
done's better than good, right? And but that repetition is everything, because what we do as entrepreneurs is we'll all spend the same amount of time to get to 80%. Let's say it takes 5 minutes to get to 80%. And then we'll spend 3 hours getting to 98%. Whereas the guy that spent 5 minutes getting to 80% and he moved through I just hit my oops. The guy that he just like moves it on and gets to the next one, gets to the next one, gets to the next one. By the time he's done 3 hours of that, he is infinitely beyond the dude that got to 98%. And neither one of them got to 100.
Right.
And so the secret, in my opinion, is first repetition. Next, 80% is good enough. If you can do that over and over and over again, your 80% will quickly become 90%, and it will become 95%. And it might even get to 98, 99%. It probably won't ever get to 100, and that's okay. Perfection is not attainable.
Yeah, that's great insight.
Fortunately, I didn't break the glass on my fan.
What role do you think core values play in building a business, and I have some things to share from a conversation I had earlier today, a Zoom call I had earlier today from probably one of the most brilliant minds. And I'll share a little bit about that conversation. But
Yeah. For me, uh, it had a lot more to do with who I had around me than anything else. Because it's kind of like I already know who I am,
yeah,
but I never took the time to define who I am. And because I didn't do that, I let other people define who I am. And that's a weird thing. It's a weird situation to be in, especially if you're not aware of it. Like if you have
right,
not sat down and written down your core values of what you stand for and what you mean as a person, somebody else is doing it for you. And that's scary. And so I sat down to do it one time, and I had to get like three different times to do it, because the first time somebody said, "Oh, core values are important," I told them they're stupid. The second time was like, "Oh, this again." The third time I took it seriously. And core values, it's not like integrity, promptness. It's like those are just words. Core values are what you personally stand for, and more important than what you personally stand for, what you personally expect of the people around you. Because if they don't match your core values, they got to go.
yeah,
So my core values, very simple, and I put them in order of importance for me. Make the time. I only want to work with people that make the time, because busy isn't a real thing. You're
no,
never actually busy. You're just unfocused. Make the time. Do the work. I'm looking for people that hustle, that will execute. Own all outcomes. There you go. Execute. That's right. Own all outcomes. And everything that's ever happened in my life is my own damn fault. It's not yours.
that's right,
It's not my ex-wife's.
that's right.
It's mine. And then finally be the difference. And I'm always looking for an opportunity to step in and be somebody who makes a difference in the situation. I don't have to, but I want to. It's important to me to be the difference in certain situations. I want to come in and I've never been the smartest dude. I've never been the fastest dude or the best looking, or the richest. And so it's hard. And I'm not even all that tall. I'm not really like buff or, there's like absolutely nothing special about me. I am the most averagest dude that you'll ever meet.
Yeah,
And so how do I leave an impression? I make a difference.
yeah,
And I'm looking for that situation where I can come in and be like, I got you, man.
yeah,
You weren't expecting this. And you didn't, nobody else is stepping up, but I'm stepping up because it feels like something I need to be doing.
yeah. I know you've poured into my life, so I can speak volumes to that.
Be the
I was
difference.
having a conversation along these lines, and I didn't bring it up. It just general conversation with a guy named Michael Besson. He was uh, Tony Robbins' VP of Sales, and he taught the business mastery classes, and he's got some great stories of just all these, CEOs and you know, just all these celebrities that he's been able to meet. And he talked about being out of alignment and in alignment, but he says, we use the 5 C's, and they were so compelling. I wrote them down. That was just today, so it just kind of filled right into our conversation. But he goes, Michael, I only allow people in my inner circle that meet these 5 C's. He goes, look, we've all attracted the wrong spouse or girlfriend or someone we want to date. Or he goes, but especially in business, we attract the wrong people because we're looking for the wrong things, right? It's usually about money. And I know I've attracted the wrong type of business partners, investors, um, because of the stories they tell, or you're compelled to do business with them for whatever reason. But these 5 C's were character, right? And he said something that I had to write down, and it was, is there anything in your life that would prevent God's blessing in your life? He goes, and if that person has something in their life that's preventing that could attack their character, I don't want them in my inner circle. The second C was competency. Do you have the skill set of what we're looking for um, that we want to add to the team? And then chemistry. You may have all of these things, but if we don't have chemistry, um, I probably don't want you in my inner circle. If we can't break bread together, or, um, I said, yeah. If you, I always say, if you take this person on a 2-week business trip, do you want to hang out with this person every day? And if the answer is no, they probably shouldn't be in your inner circle.
Yeah.
And which leads back to our earlier conversation, these last two: compatible vision. If you're saying north is this way and I'm saying north is this way, and we're not headed towards the same vision for what we're trying to achieve, you shouldn't be in the inner circle. And the last one was capacity. Do you have the time to commit to this? And if you do commit to it, will you fulfill it? Right. So when you talk about core values, mine are loyalty, help me bury the dead body, and
Hey, as long as it's legal, I'm in.
And do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And if the buck stops with me, it may be a vendor of yours, right? Something I'm outsourcing, and I'm going through this right now, that they're being delayed because of something else someone else did, right? And that's affecting them to deliver to me, that I need to deliver to my clients. The buck stops with me. I need to accept full responsibility. And so, but it's capacity. Do you have the capacity to really take on this project? So it's character, competency, chemistry, compatible vision, and capacity. And I just found that very intriguing, because it all comes back to defining, who am I? Because I have to define who I am with those 5 C's.
Right. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. It's very powerful. And a lot of it.
What are your thoughts on that, as far as business owners in making some of the mistakes I know you and I have made in becoming misaligned?
I've been in so many situations where once I defined my core values, it immediately pointed out to me why I was having so much trouble with Betty and not with Julie. Like, it was immediately clear to me. Oh, Betty doesn't make the time. Obviously, they all do the work or they wouldn't last. That one's obvious. But,
right.
But it's like, I'm looking for people that match all 4 of these things. The good thing, though, is if you define your core values, you will start bringing people towards you. Now, for me, I have 4, and I'm working right now with several people that have all 4. But I had a couple that were just like 1 or 2, and they didn't get all 4, but they picked up an extra one because I made it happen. I had this one. This was probably the proudest moment I've ever had running a team. And I've got this graphic designer that's doing some work, and she's kind of always late, and sometimes the work she turns in is a little bit inferior or whatever. And I'm just like, I'm riding her ass all the time. But when she does good work, she does good work. She definitely didn't fit all 4 of my core values. But one day she said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" I said, "Yeah." And so we got on the Zoom, and she said, "Well, one of the things that you always preach about is radical candor. And the other day when you were on this meeting, the way that you handled this situation, I thought it was really rude and uncalled for. And I felt like I needed to tell you that." And I was like, damn, you're right. and it was just one of those things, like, own all outcomes, and this is like my worst employee. And she came to me and said, "Hey, you're not doing this right." And now, me, out of integrity for myself and my own core values, I have to say, yeah, you know what? You're right. I can't be mad at you for that. It does not matter what you've done or not done. You're holding me accountable for my own core values. Right. And it's something she would not have done if I hadn't have made that abundantly clear from the beginning, we own our shit.
Yeah. That goes for our lives as well. Own your own shit,
That's right.
you know?
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
Josh, kind of walk us through, what you do in your day-to-day business and how you help people and how they can reach you.
Yeah, certainly. So I work with entrepreneurs who have hit that wall and they're holding it up. They're stuck in that rut and they're not real sure how to get out. They're putting out a lot of fires and they're not able to go and start new ones. And it's one of those things where you want to grow, you want to push forward, but some other emergency comes up. You set the plan, you listen to all this cool inspirational stuff. Yeah, I'm going to implement that tomorrow morning. And then you get in there and the whole thing's on fire. Going to have to wait. If you're in that situation and you find yourself in that cycle over and over and over and over again, I call it the vicious entrepreneur cycle. There's an antidote to that that I call the success circuit, by the way. But if you're feeling like you're kind of stuck in that rut, you're constantly putting out fires, you want to grow your business, but you're in this cycle of just hitting payroll over and over, just barely, maybe not even making payroll, and you're not sure how to fix it. The solution is simple. You need an injection of cash and sales into your business, and you need healthy cash flow as soon as possible. And so that's the thing that I focus on first. I have a 90-day accelerator. It's called Slingshot, and it is designed to apply that very simple framework that I shared with you and get you moving forward to get you some momentum so we can get you out of the rut and over the wall and start doing the things that really matter in your business, like building core values, like setting the appropriate goals, like hiring an executive team, like raising capital from people who are interested in investing in you because now you have momentum. So if that's something that defines you and you're curious about that, you can go to factor1.io. And right there at the top, there's a quick overview of what we do, how we work with people, who we help. And you can book a demo. You'll have a conversation directly with me. You're not going to talk to some weird pushy sales guy or anything. You're going to be talking directly with me. We'll have an honest conversation. Hey, look, I think I can help you. We should do this. Or, hey, maybe we should wait 6 months, or maybe you should do this other thing entirely. I'm pretty straight up about those sorts of things. So if that sounds like you, go to factor1.io and watch some videos on there. Check me out if you want to. All my socials are on there. But there's a link to book a demo. You'll have a conversation with me. We'll figure out together if we can help you grow your business.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah, man.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that, yeah, I want to add one thing. If you're watching this right now and you're a part of the summit and you're trying to push your business to the next level, I know of 0 people who've done that alone without help. So whether it's me or not, fine. Whether it's Michael or not, fine. Or anybody else that's been part of this, okay. But if you're trying to figure this out on your own, stop. That's why you're stuck. You're going to have to reach out. You're going to have to take a calculated risk. You're going to have to walk out of the cave and yell, hey, to get some other cavemen to come help you. You got to do that. Otherwise, you're going to die in the cave.
Josh, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys.
All right.
That concludes
Take care, everybody.
our episode of the Business Summit. And we'll see you tomorrow night when we're going to be talking to Angela Langlots on protecting your assets and ideas from pirates and thieves. So should be exciting to hear from her. See you then.
All right.